What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Another episode of Seahawks Now, your home for all things daily Seahawks news, updates, rumors. We do have some updates on the Seahawks preseason game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Plus, we're talking trade options. Who could the Seahawks add before the season starts that would really change the trajectory of not only this team, but of the season? And some position battles before camp that we want to discuss, during camp that we want to discuss. All that and more right here today on Seahawks Now. But first, let's talk about this game against the Chiefs. Seattle taking on Kansas City on Friday night, and it appears that the Chiefs will not be playing their starters. Andy Reid says, quote, "There's a good chance he doesn't play." When asked if Mahomes will play on Friday night, he says, "We'll see how it goes. There's a chance I sit a couple of the starters or at least be short with them. We want to make sure we get a good look at these young guys, so we'll just see how it all rolls going forward." Mahomes and Kelsey and the other starters did play in the first quarter against the Cardinals last week. So that's why people thought, maybe we'd get a chance to see, the Seahawks play against Mahomes, Kelsey. However, Mahomes and Kelsey spent today's practice with the Chiefs scout team. So, yeah, it sounds like they were giving Gardner Minshew the first team reps, and they're going to give their starters a little more of a break this time around. Gardner Minshew was getting snaps in the first team offense. He's going to start on Friday night, and that will be fun in its own way because a lot of Seahawks fans are probably also Washington State University fans. Obviously, Gardner Minshew went to WSU. He was the star quarterback for that school. And so, that could be a fun little game for a lot of, Washingtonians to get to see a guy who they rooted for in college play against their team in the preseason. Mahomes says he always wants to play, obviously, but he says at the end of the day, he trusts his coach and the process. He has a reason for everything he does. It sounds like a lot of other guys are also not going to play. Hollywood Brown out for this game. Kareem Hunt is questionable, out for the game. It sounds like for the most part, this is going to be a game when the Seahawks are playing against the Chiefs backups. And what that means is that I don't think the Seahawks are going to be playing their starters either. I don't think Sam Darnold is going to play. I don't think Kenneth Walker is going to play. I don't think Zach Charbonnet. I don't see JSN hitting the field and playing. So I do think that, that's going to be a very similar game to that Raiders game where, for the most part, you're basically just watching two teams worth of backups, which might not be the worst thing in the world. When in the grand scheme of things, watching a fun game with a lot of backups and a lot of guys who are fighting to stay on the roster, that's when things get fun, right? Guys are trying to make plays. Guys are trying to prove themselves. They're trying to prove that they deserve to stick on the roster. And so that is the scenario where, you could have some really, really cool action, or you could end up with, some pretty bad football if that's how you look at it. But I look at it as there's a lot of guys who are scrapping away, trying to get onto the roster. So I love it. I'm all here for it. All right, speaking of the roster, let's talk about some guys that I think the Seahawks should still be trying to trade for. First of all, Terry McLaurin. What are the Terry McLaurin rumors? The latest, the Commanders still unable to get a deal done. He was requesting somewhere in that $28 million per year range. Although DK Metcalf got more than that. DK Metcalf ended up with $33 million per year. Obviously, McLaurin's old. He's turning 30, but he is now, at this point, he has now requested the trade, and so it'll be interesting to see, are they going to move him or not? If they do move him, would he be a good fit in Seattle? We talked about this last week. I don't know. I think he could be. I think he's certainly better than Cooper Kupp at this point in both of their careers. He had a much better season than Cooper Kupp last year. So, on the one hand, I could definitely see him coming in to replace Cooper Kupp and to kind of fill that role as the wide receiver number 2. And then Cooper Kupp can slot in as your slot receiver, essentially the wide receiver 3. At that point, you probably have the best receiving core in the league, right? Kupp, McLaurin, JSN. At that point, you're starting to wonder who is even going to get the targets, how are we going to spread the targets out. So maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know. On the other hand, the question is, do we need a third receiver? We're already paying Cooper Kupp. We're going to have to pay JSN soon. Should we pay for another great receiver? And, the answer to that, honestly, is probably not. Probably we should maybe stay away from Terry McLaurin. Again, I love for him to come to Seattle. At the end of the day, I just want good players. But at the same time, when you already have two guys at that position who are pretty much, I would say they're acceptable to good, I don't know if we need another wide receiver on the team. So, McLaurin, it'd be fun to bring him in. but I'm kind of out right now on the Terry McLaurin rumors. All right, let's talk about the other guy who I actually really do think the Seahawks should trade for, Micah Parsons. Yeah, Micah Parsons is the guy. Micah Parsons, he would actually change this team, I think. And the latest rumors are, 5 hours ago, NFLTradeRumors.com says there's still no substantive discussions between the Cowboys and Micah Parsons. Yeah, no active discussions. It appears that the Cowboys are willing to open the season with him playing on the 5th-year option, but is Parsons going to want to play? He's already requested a trade. He says he believed that they can work out an agreement. He says he believed they already did work out an agreement, but he admitted he doesn't know if the star defender will play in week 1. Yeah, he's 25 years old. He is in line for a massive, massive contract, and yes, he's expensive. But you know what? If I'm the Seahawks, I'm going for it, right? I am going for it. If I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I look at Micah Parsons as a guy who can change the trajectory of my defense. Legitimately. Like, this dude, Micah Parsons, with him, your defense goes from good to elite in an instant. In an instant. I mean, there's no other way around it. You can't allow Micah Parsons to be traded to another team, because what if he goes to a rival? What if he goes to the Rams? What if he goes to the 49ers? All of a sudden, they are the clear favorites in your division, and you are now on the outside looking in. So you have to at least be active in these trade discussions, because Micah Parsons, he does make a team how many times better? I mean, he makes the team much, much better. In a down year, remember guys, in a down year last year, he was still getting Defensive Player of the Year votes and was an All-Pro. Like, this dude is legit. Last year, approximate value of 8. The year before that, 15. The year before that, 19. The year before that, 18. In his 4-year career, he started 63 games. He's averaging 16 games per season. He does not miss any games. 4 fumbles recovered, 9 fumbles forced, 9 passes defended, 52.5 sacks, 1 touchdown on a fumble recovery, 63 tackles for loss, 112 quarterback hits. He averages 28 quarterback hits a season. The Seahawks just don't have a guy like that on this team. We have a great defensive line. I'm not saying we don't. We have a great linebacking core. I'm not saying we don't. But Micah Parsons is a guy we don't have, and we can add him. We have a chance to. I'd be on the phone. I would be on the phone with Jerry Jones. I know Jerry Jones doesn't want to trade him. I know he says he doesn't. But for the right offer, I think he would. And I would be on the phone with him if I'm Seattle. All right, moving on. Position battles, right guard, running back, tight end, and receiver. Yeah, a lot of interesting battles still happening. First off, right guard. This is probably the most important just because this one has to do with the starter. Who's going to start at right guard for the Seattle Seahawks? We aren't really sure. Anthony Bradford, Christian Haynes, and Jalen Sundell are kind of the three-way battle. The wrinkle is Christian Haynes is also still taking some reps at center. Bradford was the starter there last year. He's gotten the majority of the first-team reps. But there's still an opportunity for Haynes or Sundell to get into the mix there and to win that starting job. So that is still completely up for grabs. It's not likely to make or break the line because none of these guys are elite. If they were, obviously it wouldn't be a competition. They're just trying to figure out what's the best way to combine our 5 guys. Obviously, we know that Zabel is in. We know that Lucas is in. We know that Charles Cross is in. Oluwatimi, we believe, is starting at center. And if that is the case, then it becomes down to Haynes, Sundell, and Bradford at the right guard spot. Bradford made 11 starts last year before an ankle injury ended his season, but he wasn't that good in those 11 starts. So it's interesting that he is kind of the, he just walked in and was like, okay, it's your job. But yeah, that's what makes me intrigued because, yeah, Bradford, I don't think he was very good last year when he started those 11 games. But apparently the Seahawks, maybe they think he's better than I did because it looks like right now he is the front runner, but we'll see. Other position battles to talk about, running back. A lot of people talking about running back as a position battle, mainly because Zach Charbonnet, maybe, is he making noise to be the running back number 1? Obviously, the official depth chart has not been released. I don't believe Kenneth Walker last year was running back 1 when he was healthy, but Zach Charbonnet, I think, had a better season than him. I guess on the official depth chart, it shows Walker as the starter, Charbonnet as the second string. A lot of people on Twitter, though, arguing that Charbonnet should be the running back one. Some people think he will. That's something to watch. Tight end, another position battle to watch. Obviously, with no more George Fant, A.J. Barner right now listed as your starter, Elijah Arroyo as the backup. What are the chances Arroyo as a rookie starts week 1? Probably pretty small, but we'll see. Again, we'll see. And then wide receiver, another one, because right now, the wide receiver 3 on the depth chart is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He's not the wide receiver 3. He's wide receiver 4. Torrey Horton listed as your wide receiver 3. So the rookie, again, Torrey Horton, listed ahead of Marquez Valdez-Scantling on the roster. I like MVS a lot. I think he will make the team. He's being paid $3 million. But at the same time, that's interesting to see that he has kind of fallen behind the depth chart. Jake Bobo is listed as wide receiver 5. And then you got a really interesting, in that wide receiver 6 slot, Ricky White, Cody White, and Derek Young. The 3 of them are all kind of battling for, is the team even going to keep a 6th receiver? And then B, if they do, which of those 3 is it going to be? I personally would love for it to be Ricky White, who we did draft in the 7th round out of UNLV. I think he has the highest ceiling of those guys. For a guy who, your number 6 receiver probably isn't going to play much anyways, but you want a guy who has a high ceiling if he does have to. I'd take Ricky White there. Cody White, Derek Young, we know who they are. They're fine. We've seen them play before. So I'm hoping it will be Ricky White. But yeah, very interesting to see. A lot of positions still kind of up for grabs. The starters we think are mostly in place outside of right guard. But yeah, definitely intrigued to see what goes on with some of these other positions. With that all being said, though, guys, that's going to wrap things up for today. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Until next time, as always, go Seahawks. See you guys tomorrow.